Prometheus went up to heaven and stole fire from God, bringing it back to share with mankind, so that all the world could flourish with the miracle of flame. So goes the famous Greek myth. And today in One Piece, the Mother Flame, built by Vegapunk for God Emu, represents a power that could be used to bring peace to all of mankind, and solve literally every conflict that has been presented in the world of One Piece. This is the dream that Vegapunk first spelled out for us at the beginning of the arc, an energy source from ancient times that could provide limitless power to all the people in the world, that would end the war for resources, that would end all inequality in the One Piece world, that would truly bring about the dawn of a new world of peace and harmony. And yet at the same time, the shocking thing is that the Mother Flame is also the very reason that the entire conflict of One Piece began in the first place. Based on all the clues from the past that we have, it is very likely that the war that took place in the Void Century was over a special resource. A resource that could be used to create a utopia for all, or, in the wrong hands, could be used as a powerful weapon to subjugate the entire world. The war for this resource was won by Emu and the 20 kings who became the Celestial Dragons, and today they are about to get their hands on it again, to finish the job and enact their final cleansing. Completely confused about what I'm talking about so far? Well, that's because the Mother Flame connects nearly all of One Piece's lore, but most importantly, it explains the will of D that Joyboy passed down through the centuries, and the type of world that Joyboy was likely trying to create. So let me break down what the world has actually been fighting over since the Void Century, and why today, just as 800 years ago, it will take a pirate to steal God's flame to relight the dawn for the rest of the world. But before we get into it, make sure to subscribe. But first, if you don't know what to get your dad for Father's Day, I've got a huge deal for you for the perfect Father's Day gift. Manscaped, the sponsor for this video, is offering my viewers 20% off the best beard shaver on the market, the Handyman. That's right, there's no need to overthink it, just get your dad the best possible gift a middle-aged man could get. A beard groomer that will make him feel fresh, distinguished, and youthful. Don't believe it? Just look at my beard, which is probably one of the best groomed beards you're ever gonna see, thanks to Manscaped's advanced grooming tech that makes it so quick and easy to shape your facial hair perfectly. The Handyman is compact and uses skin-safe technology to prevent nicks and cuts, making shaving smooth and easy. I mean, literally, just look at what my beards used to look like and compare to now. Plus, you can also get 20% off the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer. So do you want to be a good son for once? Do you want to hear your dad finally say, "Wow, son, I love this"? Then get him the top-of-the-line beard groomer and the nose and ear hair trimmer. Just head over to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free international shipping when you use code MORGE at the checkout. That's 20% off plus free international shipping using promo code MORGE at manscaped.com. Link in the description below. So that aside, the first thing that needs to be understood is the fundamental conflict of One Piece. It's not pirates versus marines, or revolutionaries versus the world government, or even the D tribe versus the Celestial Dragons. No, the fundamental conflict of One Piece is inequality. Every problem in the One Piece world stems from the greed of the powerful and the disparity of resources between those who have power and those who lack it. We see this on a micro level on countless islands. Goa Kingdom, where the wealthy hoard all of the resources and the poor are forced to live in literal trash. Wano, where Orochi takes all the wealth and resources of the country and hoards it for the upper class in the flower capital. Drum Kingdom, where Wapol has the nation's medical experts under his control so he can decide who gets treated. You can even see it on a broader scale. For example, humans control all the land and force the fishmen to live on the ocean floor, essentially hoarding the land for themselves while the fishmen dream of the sun above. The Shanyans similarly have no land of their own, as the Skypians took all of Earth from them. Most every arc and storyline you look at, you can find this fundamental issue of the haves and the have-nots. And you might be saying, no Morge, that's not true of literally every arc, and oh but it is, because where do you think pirates come from in the first place? These evil pirates that our heroes constantly have to fight arc after arc, well, the entire pirate system exists because of greed and disparity of resources in the first place. It is explained to us that the Celestial Dragons demand celestial tribute, and nations that can't pay that celestial tribute are then left in ruin, leading to war-torn nations that produce pirates. That's why Kaido became a pirate. That's why Blackbeard seems to have become a pirate. There's a reason that at every pirate's core, they hate the world government. No matter how bad they themselves are, they are usually victims of the Celestial Dragon's system in the first place. Because as long as those on top greedily steal wealth from everyone else to create their own heaven, there will in turn be those below them who suffer in hell. And this hell is what produces the demons that in turn cause more misery in the world, perpetuating the cycle. So what is the answer to all this? Well, the answer that One Piece poses is quite simple. It is an idealistic story, of course. Luffy wishes to create a world where everyone has as much to eat as they want. It's so basic, but it goes to the crux of the entire conflict. You can look at Wano as Oda's most direct depiction of the overarching resource disparity issue. In Wano, Luffy sees that those in charge unfairly take what they want from the poor, and they hoard it all for themselves. And Luffy, of course, hates this. This injustice is Luffy's driving motivation for the arc, to create a land where everyone has enough to eat as they want. Which in turn segues into Luffy explaining to Kaido that he wants to one day create a world where all of his friends can eat as much as they want. This, of course, perfectly tracks with the origins of Luffy's character, as Luffy grew up in Goa Kingdom, where the disparity between the rich and the poor mirrored the situation in Wano, which in itself also mirrors the state of the entire world. So at least part of Luffy's dream is this, a world where everyone has as much to eat as they want. Perfect. But how do we get there? Well, the very next arc, Egghead Island, Vegapunk paints a remarkably similar vision of a world where everyone has unlimited energy. According to Vegapunk, this would be a dream world that resolves nearly all conflict. Vegapunk spells out to us exactly the core conflict of the One Piece world that I've been saying, the same conflict that the Wano arc had already began to paint for us. Resources. It all comes down to unfair distribution of resources. If we had unlimited resources for everyone, then the biggest cause for conflict would be removed from the world. It is essentially identical to Luffy's vision of the ideal world. It's just that Luffy is a very simple-minded thinker. He can only really conceive of things in terms of food. So for Luffy, a world of unlimited resources, unlimited energy, everyone having however much they need, that is represented to him in his mind as the simple concept of everyone should have as much to eat as they want. So thematically speaking, narratively speaking, we already understand what the dawn of the world looks like. True peace and the end to the fundamental conflict of One Piece is not just about dethroning the Celestial Dragons, it's about ending all variations of the same problem that we've seen recurring throughout the world. The problem where some individuals are able to hoard the majority of resources to become authoritarian rulers, while the commoners are left to suffer. The vision of the dawn being spelled out for us is a world with endless resources for everyone. That would theoretically be a utopia. But how do we achieve this, and how is the Mother Flame the answer? Well, to begin with, it seems that the Mother Flame is actually the prelude to an even greater energy source that is the true final answer which will end the story of One Piece. But to understand what that is, first we have to piece together the history and the role of the Mother Flame. We know that the Mother Flame is an extraordinarily powerful source of energy. With enough energy, you can do nearly anything. You can even create food automatically, as shown at the beginning of the arc. It's easy to see why Vegapunk believed that with infinite energy, we could end the disparity of resources altogether and bring peace. However, with vast amounts of energy, you can also do the exact opposite and enact devastating amounts of violence. So here is the dilemma that the Mother Flame represents. And it also tells us a lot about what likely happened during the Void Century and why the war happened in the first place. A recurring theme in One Piece is that any power that exists is not inherently good or evil, it's about how it is used. It's the same thing that we were told about warships like Pluton. It's the same thing we learned about the ancient weapon Poseidon, which could theoretically save the world or sink it under the waves. It all depends on the power being in the hands of the right person. And the Mother Flame is obviously tremendously powerful, as it can be used to power a weapon that can wipe out an entire island. However, the origin of the Mother Flame was likely benign. We see in the ancient hieroglyphics on the moon something that seems like the Mother Flame. Based on Oda's framing and presenting the Mother Flame to us today, he tried to make the visual parallel to the hieroglyphic on the moon as clear as possible, indicating that it is the Mother Flame in the hieroglyphic. And as this is a hieroglyphic showing the races that originated from the moon, it seems as though the Mother Flame was an original creation by the races from the moon, that they then brought down to Earth. We can imagine that the moon races were remarkably advanced, as they created sentient robots long before Vegapunk. Now, when these moon races traveled down to Earth, bringing with them the extraordinarily valuable Mother Flame, what do you think happened? It's an entirely new race of people arriving here on Earth, bringing with them a resource that is far more valuable than anything that had been seen before. Even if the ancient kingdom was a truly great, noble kingdom, that doesn't change the fact that there may have been individuals on Earth who were greedy. It's likely that while the ancient kingdom welcomed the moon races, the other various kings of Earth saw this valuable mother flame and realized that they had to have it. We never knew why exactly the War of the Void Century happened in the first place, but the answer was staring us in the face all along. The war was over this valuable treasure that had been brought down from the sky. You can in fact think of it as the exact reverse of the ancient War of Skypiea, a war over this valuable resource or treasure that had come up to the sky from the Blue Sea. See, One Piece is very consistent with its storytelling. Whether it's pirates fighting over treasures or nations fighting over land, the key at the heart of it all is resources. That's of course why one of the first things that Oda wrote for his protagonist was that he is a pure-hearted individual who, amidst this world of greed, lives with a different kind of treasure in mind, valuing people and relationships above all else. But of course, the rest of the world doesn't work this way, and so the Void Century War was most certainly over this Mother Flame. We can even see hints that the Mother Flame may have been something that the Lunarians created and shared with the other moon races, as the Lunarians have a seemingly identical eternal flame on their backs with mystical properties. If we extrapolate a little, even though the Lunarians are not included among the moon races on the hieroglyphics, the fact that the other moon races had access to their flame suggests that the Lunarians at least shared with them how to recreate it, which these other moon races then brought down to Earth. We know the Lunarians also came down to Earth at some point themselves, as we are told that they lived on the Red Line. And why exactly do you think that they were called gods? Because of this eternal flame that they possessed. And out of all the moon races, why were the Lunarians, and only the Lunarians, massacred and wiped out? For those very same flames on their backs, of course. The Mother Flame connections go so deep that they actually also explain specifically how the world government was able to wipe all information from the Void Century from the history of the world. But I'll be saving that explanation for my upcoming weekly podcast that you can get by supporting me on Patreon, link in the description below. But that aside, there's one huge fundamental problem with all of this that you might be screaming at your screen right now. Which is, if the Mother Flame is the answer to everything, if it's this undying energy source, then why does it get used up and have to be recreated? Why has the world government had to wait 800 years for a scientist to come along who can make them new Mother Flames, if the flame is limitless in the first place? That's because the Mother Flame is not the final answer. It is the step before the final answer. And this is where the story of Joyboy comes in. See, the Mother Flame is extremely powerful. It's the only thing that can power the weapon that destroys entire islands. After 800 years, only Vegapunk has been able to recreate this spectacular energy source. But it is not the end-all, be-all energy source. There is something more, something greater, something truly infinite, something that Vegapunk was so close to that he was likely on the verge of discovering it before his death. We know that as powerful as Mother Flames are, we can see that even they have their limits. The island-destroying weapon uses up a full Mother Flame. Lunarians, who may be the source of Mother Flames, aren't truly immortal or everlasting, they can be hurt and die. And most importantly, why did the moon races, with their extraordinarily advanced technology and their all-powerful Mother Flames, have to leave the moon and travel down to Earth? For the same key reason that I've been saying over and over again, the heart of all problems: resources. Even the moon people with their super advanced civilization and tremendous energy source, the Mother Flame, they still needed resources. And so they had to come down to the blue planet. That's what we are told in the cover story. They brought with them an extraordinarily powerful source of energy, but not an infinite one. That's why, by the time the Void Century War was over, there were no Mother Flames left. We can see traces of their use, likely by the villain's side, the future Celestial Dragons, as we can tell that they were able to get their hands on the Mother Flame in the past, and use it to fire their weapon at some points, as seen by Enies Lobby. But by the time the war was won by the Celestial Dragons in Emu, and the Lunarians on the Red Line were massacred and eradicated, and their flames likely taken, at the end of the 100 years, the bad guys had won, but they had run out of the ultimate resource. That's why they need Vegapunk today to make more of them. Whatever the moon people had brought down 800 years ago was used up. This tells us that even the Mother Flame, as powerful of a resource as it is not limitless, meaning that it is not the answer to the fundamental problem of One Piece, the battle for resources. Because what we have been told is that what we need is a way for all the people in the world to share a limitless resource, one where no one would fight over anything because there is an infinite supply to go around. And Vegapunk has already told us that this theoretical resource is not the Mother Flame, but something even greater, that he was still trying to discover before he died, as Vegapunk makes it clear that the Mother Flame was not the answer to his dream. And this is where Joyboy comes in. There was a different ancient energy from the Mother Flame, the ancient energy that powers the ancient robot. Vegapunk explained that the closer he got to the ultimate energy source that would have infinite supply, the closer he got to the ancient robot, theorizing that the ancient energy that powers the ancient robot is the true answer. This robot is proof that the infinite energy source was in fact discovered at some point in the Void Century, something even better than the Mother Flames that the moon races brought down. And the two most important pieces of this puzzle are that first, the ancient robot is directly tied to Joyboy, in debt to Joyboy in some way, even apologizing to him. And second, that Joyboy was a pirate, the world's first pirate. Joyboy embarked on some adventure that took him outside of the established world order at the time, an adventure of discovery perhaps. Could Joyboy and his crew have discovered something that is the answer to it all, the ultimate treasure, something that could be converted into infinite energy? Because if we look at all the pieces, we know that the Mother Flame was at the center of the Void Century conflict, the Mother Flame technology was brought down by the moon races, and it's something that the world government covets even to this day, due to the power that it allows them to wield. Yet all the Mother Flames seem to have been used up by the end of the Void Century War. We can only see the remnants of their use, and even the Lunarians that may have been the original source of the Mother Flames are all dead. So we know on the one hand that the Mother Flames were an incredibly valuable resource, likely what the Great War was fought over, yet at the same time we know that the Mother Flame is not the true, final infinite energy source. There is something greater that Vegapunk theorized about that the ancient robot seems to be fueled by. If this true infinite energy source existed during the Void Century, then why did the Celestial Dragons not get control of it and retain it till today? Why do they rely on a scientist to make them an inferior energy source, the Mother Flame? Simple. Because this other, genuinely infinite energy source is one that only the pirate Joyboy and his crew discovered. They are the ones who found the answer. Not just a fantastic energy source like the Mother Flame, but something greater, the ultimate energy source, the greatest treasure for all the world to share, infinite energy and infinite resource. But while we don't know the details, what we do know is that Joyboy and his crew were not able to share it with everyone. If they were, then that infinite energy source would be in the hands of the Celestial Dragons and still used by them today. They wouldn't have to desperately rely on Vegapunk to make them Mother Flames. And so that brings us to the Will of D. Joyboy and his crew failed in some way. Likely not just in that they were unable to defeat Emu and the Celestial Dragons, but in that they likely could not share what they had learned about this energy source. They were so close to creating the same world that Luffy wishes for today, one where everyone has as much as they need. They were so close to bringing about their own dawn, but in the end they fell short. And so what did they do? They passed down the will. They knew that someday, centuries down the line, Emu would need to be defeated by the next coming of Joyboy. But it's not enough to simply defeat Emu. There is a type of world that needs to be created so that this cycle stops, so that this continuous battle over resources can finally end. There needs to be a world where everyone has as much as they could ever possibly want, the same world that Luffy dreams of, the same world that Vegapunk dreams of. There needs to be something beyond the Mother Flame that started this whole conflict, rather an infinite energy source that can end all conflict, forever, and bring the dawn of a true world of peace. At the moment, it seems that the key to the end of One Piece is hidden away inside this ancient robot. So does Joyboy's will make sense now? Joyboy and his crew seemingly found a truly limitless energy source, and even though they weren't able to share it properly with the world during their time, they passed down that will through clues and poneglyphs, believing that one day it would bring the dawn to the world. And today it will be on Luffy and his crew, through their adventures, to rediscover the answer that Joyboy already did 800 years ago, but this time be able to share it with the world, bringing the light of the dawn to mankind. So do you believe that this is where the Will of D takes us? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video then definitely like and subscribe. And if you want to hear how the energy source battle in the Void Century also led to all history from that century being wiped, as well as extended evidence for this theory in general, you can get my weekly podcast by supporting me on Patreon. Link in the description below.